Shalom and welcome to the ICEJ webinar series. I'm David Parsons of the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, coming to you from our TV studios here in our headquarters in Jerusalem. And this week we want to bring you a show about the Jihad against Israel, this Muslim holy war, Hamas, Hezbollah, even though they're Sunnis, they're Shiites, different groups, they banded together under a radical Islamic ideology to destroy Israel. We've been in 16 months of an intense war on several fronts. We've got a ceasefire in the north, but the ceasefire in Gaza teetering on collapse this week. We'll see where that goes. But we just had around 70-some pastors from about over 20 countries here for our Envision Pastors and Ministry Leaders Conference. And one of the sessions, we had a guest speaker, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. We've had him before, and we just wanted to share this very excellent briefing he gave us about the whole nature of the holy war, the jihad against Israel. And to just give you a little more background on Mordechai Kedar, he's one of Israel's leading scholars on Arab affairs, on Islam, and particularly on the Muslim Brotherhood. And he served for over 25 years in the IDF military intelligence, achieving the rank of lieutenant colonel. And then he had a long, distinguished academic career as a lecturer at Bar-Ilan University and a research fellow at their Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies, also known as BESA. And in just recently, he helped found a dynamic news site called Newsreel. So we're going to take you inside our Envision conference to hear from Dr. Mordechai Kedar.
Recently, I became the vice president of a company which produced an application about news from Israel, Middle East, Hamas, Hezbollah, United States, things connected. And many people ask me, especially when I am going abroad in speaking tours, which is the best source of information about what happens here in the Middle East in general and in Israel in particular. So, since I'm biased, and for good reason, I highly recommend this application, Newsrael, Newsrael, Newsrael. Please feel free to download it for free, and please use it. It has many classifications. It has a general, it is Israel and Hamas, Israel and Hezbollah, Iran, and also biblical archaeology and Bible. So you can download it and then look for the classification which you are interested in, and please feel free to use it and to recommend it to friends and to other people. And this is, well, we give like every single day between 80 and 100 items. And this is way above many other sources of information about Israel. And I'm not trying to undermine others' credibility or whatever, but definitely this is a good source, and I highly recommend to use it. Newsrael, Newsrael, and this is the application. It works both on Android and iPhone environments, so please use it freely. Ladies and gentlemen, we here in the Middle East, I would describe it as the crater of the volcano. Israel, if you look at the big map, we are located in the heart of the Middle East. To the west, we have Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. And to the east, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. If you go furthermore to the east, you hit China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia. So we are actually in the center of the Arab and the Islamic world, surrounded by this ocean of people who, in most cases, are hostile to Israel. And this is the big challenge of surviving in this area, because just to compare it to America, to the United States of America, who are the neighbors? From the north is the Canadians, to the south is the Mexicans, to the east are the dolphins, and to the west is the barracudas. Okay? What do we have as neighbors? From the north, Hezbollah, to the west, southwest, Hamas. In the east, Jordan, and beyond it is Iran, Iraq, ISIS, remember? And in the west, you have Libya, with all the atrocities of this country, and Sudan, Yemen, all these failing states which became bloodbaths through the, let's say, 15 recent years. And this is our neighbors, this is the neighborhood which we try to be here as a small nation, a sliver of the population of the Middle East, yet believes in its right to this place, yet believes in the world which should support Israel as it did in the past, yet we fight in order to survive on our forefathers' land, in order to revive our culture after 2,000 years of exile. Current issues in the Middle East actually are derivatives of this fact, that we are trying to survive on our forefathers' land while our neighbors don't like us. They don't want us here. They want to get rid of us altogether. And the occupation is not something which happened in 1967. Occupation is what happened in 1948, means this, when the state was established. Current issues, if we look at the picture of the Middle East, we struggled. The Iranian octopus, which was built through the last, let's say, 40 years, including Iran is the head of the octopus, and the tentacles were in Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, the Assad regime which supported Iran, Iraq, which was taken by Iran, Yemen, the Houthis, who are devastating the world trade, maritime traffic, Hamas, of course, and all these organizations were trained by Iran, armed by Iran, sponsored by Iran and by Iran's ally, Qatar, which is the biggest hater of the West in general, the United States in particular, and Israel as well. They make face as if they are nice by hosting an American airbase in Qatar named Udeid. Yet, if you listen half an hour only to Al Jazeera in Arabic, you cannot escape the vicious messages against the West in general, against America, which is the head of the problem. Israel is the long arm of America, and Islam actually should fight against these temporary countries like the United States and Israel. This is the impression which you get from this channel, which is very influential, especially in the Arab world. Ladies and gentlemen, with a vicious war which cost the lives of hundreds of Israeli soldiers and hundreds more civilians. Altogether, I think that the death toll now in Israel is almost 2,000 people who got killed since October 7, 2023. Very, very high price, which a small nation can pay. But the Iranian octopus is almost totally toppled. Hezbollah begs for its life. Syria is gone. Hamas on its way to be gone. Iraq turned its back to Iran. The only, or the last Mohican who remain to fight for Iran are the Houthis. Iran is exposed after Israel took care of the air defense of Iran. And now every country can do in Iran almost whatever any country wants to do that. Iran is exposed. And they know that they are vulnerable, and they are very cautious. And recently, since Trump was elected in the United States, they tried to make nice face in order to convince people in America who are naive enough to believe them or to fall in the trap of the Iranian lies to think that they might be peaceful solution to, first of all, the nuclear program, then the expansionism of Iran, which was demonstrated during the recent years. However, Iran, the scheme which it built, is the Shi'i side of Islam. There is another side in Islam, the Sunni side, which is no less problem. What do we have in the Sunni side? We have, first of all, Hamas. Although there were Sunnis, they were supported by Iran. We have ISIS today governing Syria. Mohammed al-Shara, the president of Syria, his nickname is Al-Julani, is a graduate of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and now he has a state. Oops. I thought we got rid of ISIS in 2018, only to find that ISIS today has a legitimate state on the ground, means on the maps, recognized by the world. People are coming to meet him. Media channels are interviewing him. He is going around the world in order to collect support, although a ransom of, I think it was $10 million was on his head by the CIA. Okay? And today he's running a state. Okay? So this is, at least potentially, it is a problem. Don't forget that he is backed by Turkey. And Turkey is governed by Erdogan, who is a Muslim Brotherhood president. So we more or less got rid of the Iranian scheme in order to find that there is another one from the Sunni side emerging in order to take the scene over. So here we are. It's not the one is the good one, the bad is the bad one. It are two sides of the same radical Islamic problem. One is called Shi'i, one is called Sunni. The goal is more or less shared, to get rid of the West, to get rid of Israel. So we have to open our eyes and understand current issues. The question is, what pushes them? Because without understanding what pushes them, what motivates them, we cannot understand current issues. In order to understand this, we have to penetrate their mindset. How those radical Muslims, and here a very important comment, Not all Muslims are radicals. There are many. I would even say most of them are not radical. The Emirates are run by a group which does not share the radical view of Islam. Other countries, Morocco, Egypt, Jordan, they don't share the radical way of thinking. So for them, Israel could be tolerated when it comes to Jordan and Egypt, and Israel could be a partner when it comes to the Emirates and Morocco and Bahrain. So, having said that, they are not the problem. The problem is the radical side of Islam, which fights against us and against most of us here in this hall. And the question is why? What the heck do they have against us? Why do they fight in a way which can cause destruction, as we see in Gaza, and they still continue? They don't give up, although they know that the price is tremendous. The question is what motivates them? Their worldview of Jews and Christians, by the way, this is more or less the same, is built from some layers. The most basic layer is the religious one. According to their interpretation of Islam, Islam came to the world to replace Christianity and Judaism. They took the theory of replacement one step forward, and now Islam came to the world to replace Christianity and Judaism. Both religions, Judaism and Christianity, are null and void, din batil, as they say in Arabic. Is somebody here speaks Arabic? Not too many. Well, Arabic is the key. Judaism and Christianity are null and void. Din batil means religion of falsehood, while only Islam is the real religion. Din haq. So why should we have a Jewish state if Judaism doesn't exist anymore? By the way, there's a question about Christian states. Why do they need them? Christianity doesn't mean anything, since Islam came to the world to replace Christianity and Judaism. So this is the first layer. The second layer is the territorial issue. This land, the land of Israel, is actually an Islamic land. Why? Because once Muslims occupied this country, and any country in the world has only one-way ticket to enter the world of Islam and not to get out. This is why, by the way, they claim that Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, should return to be Islamic because once it was under the Islamic rule. Sicily, the island in the southern part of Italy, should return to be Islamic. Large parts of the Balkans, all the way north to the gates of Vienna, where they were defeated on September 11, 1683. Now you know why September 11 was chosen. New York and Washington. And any land which was once under the Islamic rule should return to be Islamic, including this country as well. So who came? Lord Balfour, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Britain, 100 years ago, and he, the evangelical Anglican Christian, he gives this land to the Jews. Excuse me? Does the land belongs to him? This is an Islamic land. How come the British Minister of Foreign Affairs, evangelical Christian, gives this land to the Jews? He doesn't own it and they don't deserve it. This is what they say. And later, even worse, in San Remo, Italy, April 1920, the San Remo Convention of the League of Nations decides to adopt the Balfour Declaration and to turn it into a legal, international, binding document. Who is voting for this? Russia? Japan? Who the heck gave this country to Russia and Japan to vote to give it to the Jews? This is a conspiracy against Islam. So, and recently, some years ago, President Trump recognizes Jerusalem to be the capital of the state of Israel. Who gave him this city to recognize it as the capital of the Jews? Does it belong to Trump? This is the question which they raise. So this country belongs to Islam. No way to take it out from the Islamic world and to give it to the Jews. Third layer, that Jews even are not a nation. Jews are communities which belong to all the nations in the world. An American Jew is an American. And he's Jew, he happened to be Jewish, just like other Americans who are Christian or Muslims or whatever they are. He's an American. A Jew in Iraq is an Iraqi Arab who happened to be Jewish, just like many Iraqi Arabs who are Christians, Yazidis, Sabais, Mandays, or Muslims. A Jew in Russia is a Russian national who happened to be Jewish, just like other Russians who are Christian or whatever they are, and so forth. Jews are not a nation. Jews are communities which belong to all the nations in the world. So since there is no Jewish nation, why do we need a Jewish state? Fourth problem is the Jews anyway, just like Christians, should live under the yoke of Islam as dhimmis. People who have to live under the Sharia law according to the rules of Jews and Christians who live under the Islamic rule. For example, a Jew and a Christian is not allowed to ride a horse, only a donkey, in order to belittle him. The Jewish home should be lower than his Muslim neighbor, the same with Christians. A synagogue or church should be lower than the mosque, because to show who is higher and who is lower. A Jew and a Christian should walk in the street in the sewage canal, which is in the middle of the street. And you know, in the Middle Ages, they didn't have sewage under the buildings and under the streets. Everything which came out from the households was in the street. And not only from the kitchens. And this is the sewage canal in which Jews and Christians should walk. Muslims, of course, are walking on the sidewalk. Jews, when they walk in the street, have to be marked with yellow patch or yellow scarf or yellow hat. Christians, purple patch, purple scarf or purple hat. And this didn't start in Germany of the 30s and 40s. It started in Baghdad of the 9th century. And this is when was invented. This yellow patch, and for Christians, the purple patch. Why? Because Jews and Christians are impure. And Muslims should refrain from touching them in the street. So they have to be marked. Jews and Christians are not allowed to sell wine because Muslims might buy it and drink it. Christians cannot sell pork from the same reason. Jews and Christians should pay the jizya, head tax, every month. Come to the tax collector and crawl from the door all the way to the collector, on the ground, get a kick after they give the jizya from their hand and run away from the room. Why? Because there is a verse in the Quran which says that Jews and Christians, means the people of the book, should pay the jizya from their hand while they are humiliated. And in order to implement it, literally, This was the practice in some places, in some times. And more, you can read much more about the Dhimitude in Bat Yaor's book, Islam and Dhimitude. Bat Yaor, is a pen name of a Jewish lady named Giselle Littman. She was born in Egypt, in Alexandria, and therefore her pen name is Bat Yaor. Bat Yaor in Hebrew means the daughter of the Nile. And she is a worldwide expert about Islam. She speaks Arabic, she reads Arabic, and her books are the best in order to learn what goes around in the mindset of these people. And I highly recommend this book, Islam and Dhimitude, and any other book written by Bat Yaor, B-A-T, Yaor, Y-E-O-R. Ladies and gentlemen, since Jews and Christians have to live in such terms under Islam, they have no right to any state, police, sovereignty, government, army, police, or any other manifestation of independence and sovereignty. This is the outcome, this is the bottom line of the laws of the Dhimma. So, if you combine all these things together, the state of Israel has absolutely no right to exist because of the religion. Jewish religion and Christian is null and void. The land is Islamic. Jews are not a nation, and anyway they have to live under the yoke of Islam. What happened since the last quarter of the 19th century, Jews are coming with big numbers to this country with the help of the West, Christianity, and they establish here the mandate under the British Christian kingdom, and then they declare a statehood in 1948. They occupy the country. Later in 1967, they occupy Jerusalem. And the worst comes afterwards when Jews dare to pray on the Temple Mount. And this is actually the culmination of this process, which actually is viewed by them as resurrection of Judaism after it was cancelled by Islam. And this is something which they cannot fathom, because this is a theologic threat on the mere existence of Islam. And this is the conspiracy of Judaism and Christianity against Islam. And they actually fight this jihad against us in order to save Islam, according to their interpretation, to save Islam from the danger of the returning of Judaism to life in the form of a state, army, police, ministries, and relations with other countries in the world, especially Christian countries. And this is what motivates them, to the degree that they don't care about their own people who get killed, because anyway they go to be shaheeds, martyrs in heaven, to enjoy all the goodies of heaven. So if they are killed, nothing really happened. Anyway, they are alive. There is a verse in the Quran which says, don't consider those who got killed for Allah as dead people. No, they are alive. Allah caters for them. This is a verse in the Quran. So they're not really dead. So even they announced that 40,000, I don't know how many already, in Gaza got killed. This is what they give for external consumption, because this is the world will undermine Israel, will be angry about Israel. For them, it's okay. The Quran says in other place, "Taqtulun wa tuqtalun," in the war. You kill and you get killed. Nothing really special happened. So this is how they relate to this war against Israel, which is a war, a religious war, holy war, jihad, in order to save Islam from the danger of the returning of Judaism to life with the support of the Christian world. And now the question is, our question. What do we do with this? Oh, our question. What do we do with this? Do we succumb to this mindset? Do we surrender? Do we accept it? Or do we fight? Do we resist? And the answer, actually, is given us by Israel. We fight. We resist. We'll show them. But alone, it is very hard. We depend on other nations. We depend especially on the Christian world in order to save both of us. Because if Israel fails in this war in front of the jihad, the distance to Europe is what? 3 hours flight? This is when it comes to Europe. There will be so much encouraged that the masses of Muslims which already migrated to Europe will erupt because they can. And today, unfortunately, governments in Europe, especially Western Europe, are shaking and shivering because of this migration. In France already we had cases in which people slaughtered at least twice. And slaughtering is the standard way how to get rid of your enemy. And we saw it with ISIS. And we saw the ISIS fighters in Paris 2015, already almost 10 years ago, November, in the big attack on the Bataclan nightclub and the stadium. We saw what happened in the Charlie Hebdo, the newspaper. We saw the train station in Madrid. We saw the London, 7th of July. It's not theory anymore. It is the reality. And the Europeans are petrified because they know that they are vulnerable, because they are penetrated by the jihad, by the hijrah jihad, means the migration jihad. And just for those who do not know, jihad is not necessarily a belligerent jihad, a military jihad. It's not necessarily. Jihad has many facets. Al Jazeera, the Qatari channel, is defined by Qaradawi as media jihad. Qaradawi, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, who passed away a few years ago, who is living in Qatar after he ran away from Egypt. And he had in Al Jazeera every single week, a whole hour, to spread the poison of the jihad all over the world through Al Jazeera. He defined Al Jazeera as a media jihad and was proud of it. Because if you promote the causes of jihad through the media, this is a media jihad. Economic jihad is the BDS. Boycott, divestment and sanctions against Israel. This is an economic jihad. And economic jihad is indivisible part of the jihad. Not from today. Already in the ancient times of Islam, economic jihad was part of the jihad. I'll give you how it works. In the hadith, in the oral tradition, there is a question. If somebody who goes to the jihad, goes to the land of jihad, and somebody hosts him to give him food, to give him a shelter for the night, give him a shower and a bed to sleep for the night, and food to eat, what is the percentage of the reward which the host gets? So there is a debate between a quarter and a third of the jihad. Of the reward which the jihadists get, the host is getting also, because feeding him, washing him, giving him a place to sleep is part of the jihad. Otherwise he cannot fight. So the host actually takes part in the jihad between quarter and third. And what if he gives him also his horse in order to get to the jihad land faster and fresher? It's between third and a half. Means support to the jihadist is part of the jihad, indivisible part of the jihad. Ladies and gentlemen, burning churches is the arson jihad in France, in other places. And there are some very famous churches which were burned recently. Arson jihad. Birth jihad. Making children in order to take the places. Gaddafi said we can take Europe without one shot. With the Islamic womb. It's enough. It will take some more time, so what? There is a verse in the Quran which says, Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. Allah is with those who have patience. And they have a lot of patience. And there are many more facets of jihad, like academic jihad, to invest in research centers, to buy politicians, to buy academicians, as they do. Only recently, it was revealed that Qatar invested like $4 billion in, I think, the last 10 years in American universities. Show me one academia man, who will say something against Qatar if he's being sponsored. He or his research center or his salary. Ladies and gentlemen, democracy, which allows vicious countries like Qatar to infiltrate into the system, sometimes turns into a suicidal democracy. And I'm not sure that those who designed democracy meant to allow vicious countries like Qatar, Iran, or others to penetrate the system in order to turn it into something as far as could be from democracy. Because this is their goal, to turn us all into Dar el-Islam, means the house of Islam. If it goes by good means, like money, let it be. If it doesn't work, let's fight. And this is what we are facing today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the same ditch. We're in the same fight. We're in the same war. United, we will survive. Divided, we will all fall. Thank you so much.
We want to thank Dr. Mordechai Kedar for his briefing there at Envision, packed full of information, insights on the jihad that Israel is facing these last 16 months and really for decades. We thank him for his time again. We hope you enjoyed it. And join us again next week here for the ICJ webinar series, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Israel time. And also remember at the 4:30 every day, our global prayer gathering. We're still around 500 days into this war, praying every day with Christians from all around the world, praying for Israel and this region and your own nations. Join us over there for the global prayer gathering brought to you by the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem. I want to thank you for your time, for tuning in today, and God bless you from Jerusalem.
Thank you for joining us today. Join us again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on our social media platforms for more exclusive ICEJ content.